What if the single hardest truth about your financial life is that you have been systematically programmed to fail from the very day you were born? Think about this carefully. You wake up before the sun rises. You sacrifice your physical health, your emotional peace, and the absolute prime years of your youth, giving everything you have to an employer. You grind 40, 50, or even 60 hours every single week. You followed all the conventional rules society gave you. You stayed in school, got your credentials, worked hard, paid your taxes, and tried to be a responsible, productive citizen. Yet, after years of endless sweat, sacrifice, and mental exhaustion, you sit alone at your kitchen table at the end of every month, staring at your bank balance with a heavy, sinking knot in your stomach. The paycheck arrived, but within days, it completely vanished. The debts remain unpaid, the credit card balances barely move. The constant hum of financial anxiety never leaves the back of your mind. You are running as fast as you can on a brutal hamster wheel, suffocating under pressure, only to realize you are stuck in the exact same place you started 5 years ago. Here is the uncomfortable reality that modern society will never teach you in school. You are not poor because you are lazy. You are not trapped because you lack intelligence or ambition. You are trapped because you were taught how to manage money by people who were permanently broke themselves. You were conditioned by an outdated industrial education system to view money as a tool for immediate survival and temporary emotional comfort. Meanwhile, the top 1% of wealth builders view money through a completely different lens. They treat capital as an army of tireless digital employees engineered to purchase their permanent freedom. The gap between the working poor and generational wealth is not determined by luck, privilege, or family heritage. It is determined entirely by the subconscious operating system governing how you make financial decisions every single day. If you do not upgrade that mental framework today, you will spend the rest of your life trading your irreplaceable biological time just to fund another person's empire. Stay focused for the next 30 minutes because we are going to deconstruct the exact psychological principles the wealthy use to escape the rat race and build unshakable sovereignty. The most dangerous financial lie ever sold to the public is that hard physical labor alone is the path to immense wealth. Let us examine the cold, unemotional mathematics behind that belief. There are only 24 hours in a single day. No matter how brilliant you are, no matter how much coffee you drink, your biological energy has a hard, unyielding physical limit. When your revenue model is linear, meaning you trade 1 hour of your life for 20, 50, or even $200, your financial potential is mathematically capped. Even worse, if you get injured, if you experience severe mental burnout, or if you need to take 6 months off to care for an aging parent, your cash flow drops immediately to zero. This is the ultimate state of financial fragility. Poor and middle-class minds operate strictly within this linear labor mindset. Their internal question is always, how many more hours do I need to work this week to pay off this bill? Wealthy minds operate in a completely different dimension. They focus relentlessly on leverage, scalability, and decoupling. The truly wealthy recognize that time is your only non-renewable asset. You can always earn another $1 million, but you can never buy back the decade you sacrificed to corporate exhaustion. Therefore, the highest priority of a wealthy individual is not working for currency, but constructing self-sustaining systems, acquiring productive assets, and deploying capital that generates cash flow around the clock without requiring their physical presence. When an undisciplined person receives a $1,000 windfall, they see immediate consumer consumption, a new designer jacket, the latest smartphone, or an expensive weekend vacation. When a seasoned wealth builder receives that exact same $1,000, they see 1,000 tireless workers. They calculate, if I deploy this capital into low-cost index funds, cash-flowing rental units, or scalable business equity, how many hours of my future life did I just buy back permanently? The poor work for money to buy things. The rich deploy money to buy back their life. Every dollar you spend on a depreciating liability is an employee you fired from your wealth-building army. Every dollar you invest into a productive asset is an employee you hired to work for you for the next 50 years. When you shift your mindset from earning an hourly wage to acquiring scalable assets, your relationship with time completely transforms. Why is our modern economy flooded with high-earning individuals who are quietly on the brink of financial disaster? Because society has engineered an addiction to looking wealthy rather than actually being wealthy. We live in a culture dominated by algorithmic social feeds designed to exploit your deepest human insecurities. The moment your income increases from $40,000 to $80,000, an invisible societal pressure convinces you that your lifestyle must match your title. You trade in your reliable, fully paid-off vehicle for an expensive luxury car lease, carrying an $800 monthly payment. You move out of a modest, comfortable apartment into a luxury high-rise condominium with inflated rent, high maintenance fees, and expensive parking. You start dining at upscale restaurants and wearing designer clothing with oversized logos, desperately signaling success to people whose opinions have zero impact on your future. Here is the harsh truth that marketing agencies will never tell you. Most of the luxury vehicles idling at traffic lights and most of the designer goods posted on social media are not funded by wealth. They are financed by high-interest consumer debt. They are depreciating liabilities, masquerading as prestige. Let us establish the foundational definition that separates the rich from the broke. An asset is anything that puts money into your bank account. A liability is anything that pulls money out of your bank account. A luxury car loses 15% of its value the second you drive it off the dealership lot, while quietly draining cash from your pocket every 30 days through insurance, interest, and maintenance. When you buy consumer liabilities on credit, you are effectively enslaving your future self. You are signing a contract promising to work long, stressful hours for the next 4 years just to purchase a temporary dopamine hit today. The truly wealthy do not care about the theater of wealth. They understand that genuine status is waking up on a Tuesday morning with zero consumer debt, zero alarms, complete control over your schedule, and the sovereignty to say no to any toxic job or client. They wear plain t-shirts, drive modest vehicles, and quietly accumulate ownership in income-producing real estate and profitable businesses. They choose real freedom over fake applause every single day of the week. Look closely at the standard cash flow pattern of the average household. Their paycheck is deposited into their checking account on the first of the month. Immediately, the money begins dispersing to everyone else in the economic food chain. They pay their landlord or mortgage lender. They pay the utility provider, the cellular carrier, the grocery chain, the streaming subscriptions, and the credit card interest. Then, after enriching every publicly traded corporation and service provider, they look at the meager crumbs remaining in their balance and say, "Whatever money happens to be left over at the end of the month, I will set aside for savings and investments." And what happens without fail every single month? There is never anything left over. Human behavior is governed by Parkinson's law. Demand naturally expands to match supply. If you leave unallocated money sitting in your everyday checking account, your subconscious brain will invent dozens of urgent emotional reasons to spend it before 30 days expire. The wealthy completely invert this cash flow sequence. The exact millisecond income enters their possession. A predetermined percentage, whether it is 20, 30, or even 50%, is automatically routed away from their checking account into automated investment vehicles, dividend accounts, and wealth-generating assets. They pay their future freedom first before paying a single dime to the rest of the world. They strictly force their daily living expenses to adapt to whatever balance remains. By removing the human element and automating their wealth building on day one, they eliminate impulse buying, emotional rationalization, and psychological hesitation from their financial growth. They treat their future independence as an absolute, non-negotiable obligation rather than an optional afterthought. If you do not automate your investments, your emotions will always find a way to spend your capital. When you pay yourself first, you build wealth quietly in the background while you sleep, creating an impenetrable financial fortress that grows stronger with every passing month. One of the most insidious financial traps in existence is known as lifestyle inflation. The human mind is hardwired for rapid psychological habituation and hedonic adaptation. When you earn $30,000 a year, your brain adapts, and $30,000 feels like the minimum threshold required to survive. When your career advances and your salary jumps to $100,000, a dangerous psychological shift occurs. Within 6 months, your brain convinces you that your new, expensive lifestyle is just the normal baseline, and you begin feeling just as stressed as you did when you made a fraction of that amount. This is why earning more money alone will never fix poor financial habits. If your spending increases in exact proportion to your income, you are merely building a larger, more gilded cage. The wealthy do not practice extreme miserable deprivation, but they practice ruthless, intentional restraint. When their revenue doubles or triples, they deliberately keep their baseline living expenses completely flat. They fiercely protect the widening gap between what they earn and what you spend. They understand that this specific financial gap is the only space where real economic power and compounding wealth are generated. If you receive a promotion, a substantial bonus, or a profitable business exit, resist the immediate urge to upgrade your physical possessions. Instead, upgrade your liquidity. Upgrade your portfolio of income-producing assets. Upgrade your emergency reserves. Think about the massive mathematical advantage of living below your means. When your baseline expenses are low, your cost of living is tiny, which means you need far less capital to achieve complete financial independence. Do not let your lifestyle swallow your financial runway before your assets have had time to compound into generational freedom. Most amateur investors believe that succeeding in the financial markets requires exceptional mathematical genius, predictive algorithms, or insider information. In reality, the global financial markets are not a test of raw intellect. They are a crucible of emotional discipline and psychological endurance. The average person routinely destroys their hard-earned capital because they allow two ancient evolutionary emotions to dictate their behavior: fear and greed. When the economy is thriving, asset prices are soaring, and financial media is celebrating new highs, retail investors experience intense fear of missing out. They abandon all risk management and purchase overvalued speculative assets at the very top of the market cycle. Then, when the inevitable economic correction occurs, fear takes total control. Headlines predict catastrophic collapse, stock prices tumble, and in a state of blind panic, amateur investors sell their high-quality assets at the bottom, permanently locking in massive capital destruction. The truly wealthy view market volatility through an entirely unemotional structural framework. They understand that economic downturns, recessions, and market corrections are not unprecedented catastrophes. They are recurring, healthy features of the economic engine. More importantly, they recognize that market crashes are the greatest wealth transfer mechanisms in human history. When prices collapse and retail investors flee in panic, the wealthy do not sell. They deploy their cash reserves aggressively. They purchase productive index funds, dividend-paying equities, and high-quality real estate at massive discounts from desperate sellers. They maintain robust cash buffers, so they are never forced to liquidate assets during a temporary economic winter. Warren Buffett summarized this mindset perfectly. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. If you cannot control your emotions during a market downturn, you will always be the liquidity provider for someone who can. Relying on a single paycheck in the 21st century is the financial equivalent of building a house on a single wooden pillar. If your entire standard of living depends on the continued goodwill of one corporate entity, you are never truly safe. You are living under the illusion of security, exactly one managerial restructuring, corporate buyout, or automated software update away from total financial distress. The wealthy think in terms of diversified ecosystems and independent capital engines. They ensure that no single failure in the macroeconomic environment can derail their overall financial health. They systematically construct four distinct engines of capital. First, equity growth engines, low-cost, broad market index funds and shares in resilient, cash-generative businesses that appreciate continuously alongside human productivity. Second, cash flow real estate engines, high-demand residential and commercial properties that produce predictable monthly rental yield while acting as a natural hedge against inflation. Third, dividend and fixed income engines, established blue-chip corporations that distribute regular portions of their net profits directly into their investment accounts. Fourth, scalable digital and media assets, software, intellectual property, digital educational products, and automated platforms that have virtually zero reproduction cost and can be sold globally while they sleep. When one sector of the economy experiences a cyclical slowdown, their other engines accelerate and provide immediate stability. They do not rely on hope. They rely on structural architecture. Building multiple income streams does not mean working 4 separate jobs. It means creating assets that decouple revenue from your physical presence. Look closely at your own life. If your active labor stopped today, how many independent engines would continue depositing cash into your account tomorrow? Consider how the average person spends their non-working hours. They return home from work physically drained, sit in front of a television screen, and spend 4 hours mindlessly consuming algorithmically engineered entertainment. They scroll endlessly through short-form video feeds, arguing with strangers about political events they cannot influence and absorbing negativity that drains their cognitive energy. Now, observe how self-made wealth builders utilize their discretionary time. They treat their personal competence and intellectual machinery as their most valuable, productive asset. Global macroeconomic conditions fluctuate. Currencies lose purchasing power due to central bank inflation. Real estate cycles go through periods of stagnation, tax structures shift, and industries experience technological disruption. However, your practical skill set, your work ethic, your emotional resilience, your negotiation abilities, and your financial literacy can never be confiscated, taxed, or inflated away. The highest return on investment you will ever generate in your lifetime is the capital and time you invest into your own mind. High net worth individuals read books relentlessly, study balance sheets, master human psychology, analyze business models, and learn how capital markets function. When you double your skill level, your marketplace value and earning potential expand permanently. A worker possessing low leverage skills will always remain financially vulnerable, regardless of how many hours they work. A disciplined individual equipped with high income skills, marketing expertise, and capital allocation knowledge can lose their entire net worth in a crisis and rebuild a multi-million-dollar portfolio within 5 years. Stop spending your evenings on low-value passive consumption. Turn your daily commute into an audio university and turn your spare hours into an incubator for high-value skills that pay dividends for the rest of your life. The ultimate dividing line between individuals who achieve lasting financial sovereignty and those who remain trapped in lifelong poverty comes down to a single psychological principle: radical ownership. In the modern world, it is incredibly easy and culturally encouraged to adopt the posture of a victim. It is easy to blame your parents, blame your economic background, blame corporate greed, blame interest rates, or blame the government for your current financial difficulties. While systemic inequalities and unfair circumstances certainly exist, embracing a victim mindset is a guaranteed, permanent sentence to financial misery. The very second you attribute your financial struggles to an external force, you surrender all agency, leverage, and power to change your reality. You are effectively declaring to yourself and the world that your future is completely out of your control. The wealthy operate on the foundational belief that regardless of where they began in life, their current trajectory and ultimate destination are 100% their personal responsibility. If their income is low, they do not complain. They take accountability to learn higher-paying, in-demand skills. If their living expenses are dangerously high, they do not make excuses. They ruthlessly eliminate non-essential overhead and restructure their lifestyle. If their savings account is empty, they take full ownership to eradicate bad debt, establish automatic savings rules, and enforce personal discipline. When you take radical ownership of every single dollar that enters your possession, every single hour of your schedule, and every single financial habit you repeat, you stop being a helpless passenger in your life and finally step into the driver's seat of your financial destiny. Nobody is coming to save your financial future. There is no government program, no employer bonus, and no lottery ticket that will give you true sovereignty. Your freedom must be built by your own hands, through your own discipline, day after day. Building wealth is not an esoteric secret reserved for a select, fortunate minority. It is a predictable, repeatable mathematical process. It is the direct, cumulative result of eliminating destructive psychological habits and replacing them with disciplined, compounding behaviors repeated consistently over decades. Let us synthesize the core pillars of the wealthy mindset that you must implement starting today. First, sever the connection between your biological time and your revenue by constructing scalable assets. Second, stop buying fake status on credit to impress a society that does not care about you. Third, pay yourself first by automatically transferring 20 to 30% of your income into productive investments the second you get paid. Fourth, defend the financial gap between what you earn and what you spend by actively resisting lifestyle inflation. Fifth, master your emotions so you can view market corrections as opportunities rather than disasters. Sixth, Diversify into multiple uncorrelated cash flow engines so your family is never dependent on a single paycheck. Seventh, continuously reinvest in your personal competence, high-income skills, and financial education. And finally, take total, unapologetic ownership of your financial circumstances. Your journey to financial independence does not start when you reach retirement age, and it does not start when you make your first $1 million. It begins today with the very next financial choice you make. Master your mindset, protect your discipline, and refuse to settle for a life of quiet financial desperation. If this message brought you clarity and challenged the way you look at money, please click the like button right now so this wisdom can reach more hardworking people who need to hear it. Leave a comment below sharing. Which of these mindset shifts are you committing to implement in your life starting this week? We read and reply to our community, and most importantly, subscribe to Vibrant Success and turn on the notification bell. Commit to your growth, take total ownership of your habits, and build your generational freedom step by step.